tagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo, ancora Pirlo di tacco, tiro, gol!
Hello and welcome to the AC Milan Talk podcast. I'm your host, Meet Paul, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend Jason Brown. JB, how you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Doing good.
Good man. Right, so we've got a win to get stuck into tonight. Patrick Cutrone rescued Milan in their Europa League clash with Rijeka. We analysed the game, we hand out our player ratings, while we also discuss Vincenzo Montella and the speculation around his job. But first, Jace, let's start with the game and dive straight into those player ratings. The game as a whole wasn't the most convincing of wins, and obviously it took a dramatic late goal to get the right result. But general thoughts on the game? Obviously Rijeka, at home we expected a comfortable sort of night. Didn't turn out that way, but I guess happy to get the win, sit top of the group, and we move forward in Europe.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was one of those typical European nights where, you know, like you say, expecting a pretty straightforward win, but especially in Europa League, I don't know a lot about any of these teams, so you kind of always expect to win. But you have to remember, they've made it into a top European competition, so they must have something about them, and they definitely did kind of prove that tonight in a way. But a little bit of a wake-up call for Milan. But, you know, the good thing about it is it didn't cost us any points. Got out of it with 3 points, which is the most important thing, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. A win's a win. Wasn't the most convincing, like I said, but got those 3 points, and it's 2 out of 2 in Europe. But yeah, I mean, positives. You know, the pressure was on Montella and the players before kick-off with the Sampdoria result in mind. So hopefully that, you know, builds some confidence within the group, especially the manner with the late goal. But as you mentioned, it was, you know, kind of a wake-up call. There were warning signs and a bit of complacency, and we nearly threw a 2-goal lead away. But luckily we didn't. So all good on that front. So yeah, player ratings, Jace. Let's get into it. Donnarumma, I'm going to give him a 5. I think he was alert and he commanded his area quite well throughout the game. But I personally felt, even though Bonucci sold him down the river for the first goal, I felt like he could have been a bit braver to kind of deny the opportunity. Lucky bounce, obviously went into the goal, but for me, a little bit disappointing. And I think he'll be disappointed with himself that he couldn't keep the penalty out, having got a hand to it. So, you know, I don't want to be too critical of him, but I think I'm going to give him a 5.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's fair. I went with a 6. And yeah, I take your point. I thought the penalty was a weak pen, and he should have saved it. But yeah, I do agree as well. He could have been a bit braver, but I was placing blame on Bonucci for that. But I guess he should be more alert, shouldn't he? But I've gone with a 6. I think, you know, up until 84th minute was keeping a clean sheet. He kind of did okay. Rijeka did have, you know, they threatened a little. Didn't have many clear chances, but I thought he did well up until obviously giving away that goal and then the penalty save. So I went with a 6. But yeah, 5 isn't unfair, I don't think. Probably I'm being a bit generous. No,
that's fair enough. I see your points as well. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Who knows? Musacchio, what are you giving him?
I've given him a 6 as well. I thought out of the defenders, probably one of the best performers. I know that's not saying much because I don't think we defended well, but yeah, I've just given him a solid 6. I thought he did what he had to do, to be honest. Didn't make any mistakes, just got on with the game.
Yep, I've given him a 6. First goal for the club as well. Decent finish, defensively sound for the most part. I didn't feel like he was as composed on the ball as he normally is, but I'll let him off on this one, so I think I'll give him a 6. I've given Bonucci a 5, and Jace, I'm going to sound that alert, if you like, again.
Yeah.
Because honestly, his distribution is great, and I love how he steps forward and he can, you know, spray a 40-yard pass forward, and that's all great. But he's a defender. He's our captain. He's our defensive leader, and you know his lack of pace was exposed late on. Got shrugged off the ball, beaten too easily. You know, as you mentioned a minute ago, his mistake in the build-up to the first goal. I'm a bit concerned, and you know I've given him a 5 on this occasion. But honestly, the worst thing that I'm dreading is seeing him against someone like Mertens when we play Napoli. because I think he'll be absolutely ruthlessly exposed in a big game like that against top level striker like Mertens, who's dangerous, got pace. So again, I'm not entirely convinced with Bonucci, and I'm giving him a 5.
Yeah, I agree. I've gone with a 5, and I take all your points on board. I think you're spot on there. I think he looks like he's lacking a bit of charisma, doesn't he? I mean, we're used to seeing him. Well, for Juve and Italy, he's alert, he's there, he's with it. He seems a little bit off the pace.
Yep.
Still, I don't know. I know we mentioned it a few weeks ago. Probably just needs a bit of bedding in, new team, new surroundings. But he should be with it now, in my opinion. I think he's definitely missing something. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, a 5. Pretty poor performance, in my opinion.
Do you have any idea what to put it down to, though? Because I think I read somewhere this was his 10th straight game. And like you said, the bedding in excuse has gone for me. That's well and truly over. So what do you put this down to? Because I don't want to say he's shot, because I think that's a bit dramatic at this stage. But he just doesn't look the same player as we've seen for so many years for Juve. He still looks really shaky.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping it's not a footballing reason, like you say. I don't think he's shot or anything. I know he had some issues, personal life and such. I don't know if that's getting to him, but I hope he gets over it soon, to be honest. Not just in a footballing sense. If it is something in his personal life, I hope for him that, it sorts itself, or it gets dealt with, and he can get back to, the Bonucci that we know and love.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Romagnoli, Jace, what are you giving him?
I've given him a 5. Again, poor performance for me. Clumsy tackle. I think it's a bit harsh, personally, to give the pen, but it is clumsy. He's tried to go around him. I think, I forget the player who went down, but he's kind of brought it a little bit, in my opinion. But still, he shouldn't be trying to get the ball from behind in that situation, and he's just generally had a bit of a mare. Yeah,
I agree. I'd use exactly the same word as you, clumsy. I think he could have dealt with the situation before, being put in the position to bring him down. So I think he could have dealt with that much better. I thought he was okay on the ball. I thought he was quite assured in his passing, but another silly mistake gets him marked down, so he gets a 5 from me as well. Abate gets a 5. Probably a little bit harsh, maybe, because he didn't do anything wrong as such, but busy up and down the right flank. But I just don't remember him doing anything of note, to be quite honest. I thought he offered energy. He was an option out wide, but solid, but just nothing that I can remember that stands out.
Yeah, I've gone with a 6. Again, I agree. I think he was up and down. He didn't do anything of note, but I thought he didn't make any mistakes, so I've just gone with a 6. But I can see how a 5 would be fair. I guess he could have done a bit more. I think we're used to in the league, we've got two wing backs who do contribute a lot, and just having Abate there, just a lot of energy, but like you say, no real end results.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to like my next one. I've given Frank the Tank a 5. To be honest, I said to you on Sunday after the game against Sampdoria that I would be absolutely shocked if he was starting this game against Rijeka, and lo and behold, he was. So I'm blaming this solely on Montella, but I'm giving him a 5 because I just think he's just off the pace. He's knackered. He's had so much game time. He needed to rest, and he should have been on the bench for this one. So, he worked hard off the ball. He covered ground well, as he always does, but there was no driving, runs forward that we're so used to seeing from him. There was no real spark or energy about him. So, unfortunately, through no real fault of his own, he gets a 5 from me.
Yeah, no, I've had to agree with you as well. I've gone with a 5. You know how I feel about Frank the Tank, but yeah, I agree. It looked to me though as if, yeah, he's tired, but I think he was preserving energy himself. Like you say, he was covering ground, but he just wasn't moving forward. I think that was a conscious thing. I think he's looking forward to the Roma game, thinking he wants to be fully fit and ready for that. So I blame Montella. I don't know if Kessie should have spoke up and said, I'm feeling it a little bit. Can you please, take me out of this one? So I'm raring to go for the league. But it looked as if he was just there. He's like, I'm going to do my job. Anything else, anything extra, I'm just going to, take it easy and try not to burn myself out. But yeah, I've had to give him a 5 for that.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment for me. I like your thinking on that one as well. Locatelli gets a 6 from me. I might be slightly generous with this one, but I think I quite liked, he was quite snappy in his tackles, got stuck in a few times. Again, nothing of real note on the ball, but I thought he was quite tidy, and given it's a rare start for him, I think he did okay. So I think he can be pleased with his night's work. So I'm giving him a solid 6.
Yeah, no, I was edging towards a 6.5, but I've gone with a 6 as well. Like you say, I think nothing of note, but I thought it was solid. Up until the last 10 minutes, I felt he was a little bit sloppy there. But like you say, yeah, snappy with tackles. He looked to be not back as it were, but like you say, he hasn't played in a while. So I was kind of before the game a little bit wary of what it would be like, and I was quite impressed, like you say, up until the last 10. So I've gone with a 6.
Good man. We only got to see 45 minutes of him, but Çalhanoğlu, what are you giving him?
A 5, unfortunately. I felt he just wasn't at it again. I don't know what was up with him. He's kind of been up and down for me in his performances this season. We've seen the best of him. I think we've seen the worst of him, but he just needs to get a bit of consistency. But today it was just non-existent for me.
Yeah.
So I've gone with a 5.
Echo your points, giving him a 5 as well. I tap into that inconsistency that you mentioned there. I think I'm a bit annoyed of this starting and stopping with him. I think Montella said in midweek that he can't play every 3 days. He needs a rest. But the only way you're going to get the best out of him, I feel, is giving him a consistent run in the team. And then you'll see the quality on show on a more regular basis. But as you mentioned there, 5, sloppy on the ball. I thought he kind of, again, got stuck in, sliding around. Had a bit of quality on him in a few moments, passing-wise, but generally just poor. So 5 from me as well. Your man Fabio Borini, Jace, I'm giving him a 6. Again, I've got to take it into context in the fact that he was playing as a left wing back, so you've got to give him credit for kind of adjusting to that position and that role. But the moment that really mattered was that assist for Cutrone for the winning goal. It was a beautiful little cut inside, nice little pass in to Cutrone, who did the rest, obviously. But I think Borini can be happy with his work, and hopefully he gets a bit of credit. So giving him a 6.
Yeah, I've gone with a 7 for
Nice.
Borini. I don't know if I'm being generous, but yeah, I think he worked really hard up in that left wing. He didn't really do much, as it were, up until obviously that amazing assist. But he seemed, to me, he was trying. He did make a few snapshots and such, but he was getting up there. He was trying to make things happen. I felt, his effort was there, and then it ultimately came good for him when he put in that excellent ball for Cutrone. I thought it was a great assist. So yeah, I've gone with a 7.
Fabio Borini and 7 out of 10, Jace. I can see the abuse coming.
I know. Yeah. I think 94th minute winner. That ball was superb. I think he's deserving of a 7 today. Might be the only one he ever gets. So.
Embrace it, enjoy it. Good shout. Yeah. Andre Silva, I've given him a 7. I might be a little bit generous again with this one, but brilliant goal, brilliant solo goal to open the score and break the deadlock. The only thing, well, there's 2 things. Firstly, I just want to see him start in Serie A now. I think I've had enough of this starting in Europe, but dropping to the bench in domestic games. He needs to start in the league as well. But also, I think he's the only criticism that I've really got of him is that I think he was a little bit wasteful in certain situations. He gets into these dangerous attacking positions, and whether it's him not seeing the pass, whether it's not picking his head up, whether it's being greedy, trying to take on too much for himself, because Cutrone was fairly frustrated at times. I think Silva needs to strike that balance and be a bit more decisive and make the right decisions in the attacking third. So a 7, because he did score a great goal and he was good on the night, but definitely room for improvement. But what are you giving him?
Yeah, I've gone with a 7 as well. I agree. Great solo goal, and all the points you made, I echo. I would say though, in his defence, I think if he did get a run in the team, that sharpness up in the final third and decision making should improve hopefully once he gets used to playing with his teammates more. I think at the minute he's probably unsure of who's going to make the run and such. Should I hold on to it? Should I release it now? So hopefully with a good run in the team, that should come.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's fingers crossed that happens. And then I'll give you the honours, Jace. Patrick Cutrone, what are you giving him?
I've given him an 8. I thought, he showed a lot of tenacity up top, as he always does, supporting, moving, making good movement, I felt. Like you say, he was a bit frustrated because he wasn't getting the passes through, but he was still kept doing it, kept making those runs, and obviously it paid off in the 94th minute with a great run and a great ball for Bruni to win the game.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've given him a 7. I completely agree with all your points, but yeah, just a little bit lower. As you said, worked hard off the ball, willing runner from start to finish. A little bit frustrated, as I mentioned, not only just Silva, but there was a lack of service, which kind of frustrated him a little as the game went on. But as you mentioned, stepped up when it mattered. Brilliant goal. A lot of mentions of Pippo Inzaghi in the way that he beat the offside trap and finished nicely. A lot of fans were drawing those comparisons, but nice to see the young man back on the score sheet as well, and obviously with such a crucial goal. So 7 for Cutrone. Just to breeze through the substitutes, because I don't think any of them really offered that much, but it was also amazing to see Montella act before the 70th minute, by the way, with Bonaventura coming on at half-time. But anything of note for you? But personally, I'd given Bonaventura and Mari a 5 each, and Suso came on too late to really give him anything, but guess the guys came on, kept things ticking over, didn't really do their job in terms of seeing the game out, because we almost bottled a 2-goal lead. But anything of note, or just a solid 5 for those guys?
Solid 5. I would only say I did pen down a 6 for Bonaventura. I felt he did a little bit better. Definitely an improvement on Hakan, so I thought it would be a bit harsh to give him the same. But yeah, I don't disagree with anything really you said.
Fair enough, good man. So Jace, the other man that's in the the headlines and one of the biggest talking points at the moment is Montella, especially after Sunday, and he's a very lucky man that if we had thrown that lead away, I'm sure the knives would have been out again. But obviously the question is now, is he the right man for the job? Because there's a lot of discontent about his decision making, about the fact that an illustrious club like Milan are going away to Sampdoria and not delivering the goods when they've chucked 11 new players at him as well. Another thing that complicates matters is the fact that Carlo Ancelotti got sacked today, shockingly. But he did get sacked, and that obviously his name is now entered into the kind of race, if you like, to see who potentially could replace Montella. Just before I get your thoughts, I did carry out a poll. The polls are back. First time in about...
Surprise.
Simple question, really. Just put it out there and wanted to get the fans' reaction. Do we bring back Ancelotti? Do we still have faith in Montella? Another outside name that's been in the mix is Conte. Do we wait for him? Results are as follows. 42% said bring back Ancelotti. 24% said they still had faith in Montella. 18% said wait for Conte if he possibly wants to move back, as he mentioned he was homesick last week. And 16% said Montella deserves to stay until the end of the season at least. Jace, you're the Milan hierarchy. You've just seen Ancelotti is available on the market. Do you stick with your man Montella, or are you now looking at it very, very closely in the upcoming games and thinking if things aren't going right in Serie A particularly, do we swoop for Ancelotti?
I personally would swoop for Ancelotti, to be honest. I know it sounds harsh, and I've been on this podcast and I've talked about how Montella does deserve a season, especially with the summer that's just happened, the new players. He deserves his opportunity. But Ancelotti is former Milan manager. He's a great manager. He's won the Champions League I don't know how many times, won multiple leagues. He's a man who you can get in. He'll organise this team with the players that we have. He'll get them playing a style of football, winning style of football. They'll be compact. They won't give much away at the back. And the most important thing for me, I think if you give him this team, he could realistically win the Europa League. I'm not sure Montella could do that. And I'm not sure now that Montella can challenge for the Scudetto. So, in my opinion, I think if you're going to get Ancelotti in now, you've got more chance of getting into that top three in the league, and you've definitely got a high percentage of getting to semis and possibly the final of the Europa.
You make very good points and all very valid points. I'm split. I think, like, I've been on the same track as you. I've always stuck by Montella and said, yep, 100% he deserves a full season with this team. But sentimental side of me is pulling at my heartstrings and saying, bring back Carlo. But it's a tough one. The only thing I will say is that I think Roma on Sunday is going to be massive now. I think we all, even though we did our best to throw it away, I think we all knew we were going to get 3 points against Rijeka tonight. That wasn't the test, if you like, that everyone was waiting for. Sunday's the big one. I think, with what we've seen against Lazio, what we saw against Sampdoria, I need to see Montella capable of going head-to-head with a direct rival, coming out on top, showing that his tactics work. He can make changes and whatever, such as in that situation. But that's key for me. I think you got Inter after the international break as well. We could be looking at a change in the next 2 weeks if things go really pear-shaped, which is not something that I thought I'd be saying at the start of the season, but that is the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's good points. It will be a massive test for Roma. I'd like to think, a manager like Ancelotti, again, his record, he rarely loses out in the big league clashes, so this might be a massive test for Montella if he can't prove, like you say, that he can really mix it up with our direct rivals, then he might have to go.
Indeed. Do you have any concerns over Ancelotti's sort of more recent record of not lasting more than 2 seasons at clubs? Because he's obviously done that Chelsea, PSG, Bayern, Real Madrid. I know he's been successful, but in terms of a long-term plan, do you think that should raise any concerns, or is that not too much a bother for you?
It's not too much a bother for me, to be honest, because of the clubs that it's happened to him at. It's their clubs who are famous for sacking a manager after 2 seasons. Yeah. So he's not the only manager to be sacked after winning trophies at Chelsea after a couple of years, or PSG, or now Bayern. I think Bayern famously only really recently 3 years has been the max, hasn't it? So he wasn't far off of being more of the same, but unfortunately it's been cut early, but it might be a blessing for us.
Indeed, we should have to wait and see. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that we lose on Sunday and the change happens and everything's great. Fingers crossed we get the job done on Sunday and go into the international break with a nice little boost in confidence for all. But we'll have to wait and see. Jace, I think that wraps us up for this week, unless you had anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we covered it all, and hopefully much better performance on the weekend, but hopefully a similar result.
Indeed, fingers crossed, mate. Good stuff. So thanks all for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and keep supporting the channel. As always, we thank you for your comments, analysis. It's always much appreciated and we love reading them. But until next time, Jace, nothing left but to say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people.